BBC Radio Kent, 5:20. Now, a story on overcoming adversity and learning to laugh in the face of it. Rosie Moss from Westmoreland here in Kent and her friend Lucinda Boast both lost their partners young and have started a podcast to discuss their journeys and to create a community.
I was grieving for a man I thought I knew, a man who had been hiding a huge part of himself from everyone around him for our entire 8-year relationship. 6 years on though, I can honestly say life is good again. I've found wonderful support in my family, my friends. I've made some amazing new friends too, and have a tribe of other widows to share every milestone on this journey with. I want to give other widows and widowers a voice and a chance to share their stories, to show that life doesn't end when we lose our loved ones, and that wonderful things can still happen.
This is my path. It's not the one I chose, but it is the one I'm walking. And hey, if you have to walk through hell, then really, you might as well dance.
That is lovely, isn't it? Rosie and Lucinda from the podcast Widowed AF, which stands for As Friends, I hope. Join us now.
No comment.
No comment. Yeah, very wise. Rosie, your stories aren't uncommon, are they?
What are stories about being widowed young? No. I mean, every individual story is that, it's individual. But really, when it happened to me, I was quite surprised by how many of us are out there. And we're not hidden away in a tower. We walk among you as widows.
Is that what you believe as well, Lucinda?
Absolutely. And when it first happened, I felt so alone. I remember sitting at my desk and Googling, I've just lost my husband. Because I felt like the only person in the world that this had happened to. At this age, I was 34. It was out of the blue. And so many support groups are out there full of people wanting to tell their stories and share their realities. People who are lone parenting like we are. People who lost their partners in shocking circumstances. And it was so comforting to me. And I know it was to Rosie too.
Yeah, the problem is a lot of it feels very bleak and very sad. And actually, as you start to get to perhaps a year point when you're sort of poking your head above the parapet and you don't really see where you belong anymore, you don't fit in with your old friends, you don't you recognise yourself in the portrayal of widows that you see. So it's really to try to be the voice that we needed in those early days, and also to give other people like us a voice, because nowhere is offering widows the opportunity to tell their story in their own words without judgment.
No, absolutely. And as time has gone on, we're both a few years down the line now, so we feel this is the right time for us to talk about it and to offer a platform to other people to talk to.
Basically, we're really wise now.
Yes, no, I can tell that just by being in your presence, the wisdom you ooze. People want to do the right thing, don't they, given the situation. But sometimes we don't know what to say to make it, well, you can't make it better, but at the very least, to say the right things.
No, this is true, and people do make the most remarkable gaffes. And at one point, I'd quite like to accumulate all the things that have been said to people. But they don't mean badly. They don't mean any harm. They mean well. And we sort of think, if nobody tells you that that's not the right thing to say to a widow, how on earth do you know? Because, most people have never had a friend who's lost a partner. But statistically, you are around 50% likely to become a widow if you're in a romantic relationship at some point in your life. So we sort of want to take all the shame and the secrecy away and, open up this hidden world and show you that we're actually quite normal, really.
That's it, and allow people to actually talk about it. I was saying to Rose earlier on, the amount of people, when you start telling your story in the early days, that say, oh, don't carry on if you're not comfortable. And you think, actually, you're not comfortable listening to this. So, yes, I'll change the subject, but it's still all in my head and I want to get it out. So let your widowed friend talk.
It's interesting you say that, Lucinda, because obviously you've both been through a lot. And essentially in this podcast, you are reliving your traumas, aren't you, for the benefits of others?
We are. This is true. I mean, Rosie interviewed me earlier on for our second episode, and it was cathartic and empowering, actually, because I don't think there's ever been a time when I've had the opportunity to tell my entire story right from the beginning all the way up until now. So it really helped me.
There's a definite wonder in talking. You know, there's the cliche that it's good to talk, but shame and it can't live in the dark, in the light, sorry, it thrives in the dark. So if we throw a little light on these subjects, then, you know, you cease to be ashamed and feel so isolated and alone. And it can be a very dark place. And, you know, just to reach out to people and say you don't have to be. And also, you don't have to be widowed to listen. I sort of defy anyone not to be moved by these inspiring and quite compelling stories that we're going to be discussing with people.
Why did you think a podcast was the place to tell these stories, Rosie?
In an ideal world, I would like to write a book. You know, that would, you know, that's always been my kind of goal. But because writing a book is quite a monumental task, I kept putting it off. And in the end, I sort of had this kind of eureka moment of what about a podcast? And I roped in my lovely friend here, and we had
a really excited voice message around September time. Rosie said, "I've had this wonderful idea." Widowed AF was floating around in your head for a long time, wasn't it? Over a year before. And so we kind of feel like we've developed this over time without even realising a podcast was where we were going. And we listen to a lot of podcasts ourselves, and we found them really helpful on all subjects like parenting, diets and everything, you know.
And it is how people tend to consume things now, because you can stick your headphones on and do it on the school run or the dog walk. And so actually it felt like an accessible way to introduce people to the hidden word of widows.
And what have family and friends said about the podcast?
They are really excited about it. I mean, my story is quite difficult to tell, so my family was slightly hesitant about me sharing it in such detail.
Making it so public.
Yes, but they know that it helps me to talk about it, so and they can see the difference it's making me to have this platform to discuss it on.
So finally, the big question, where do we go to hear it, Rosie?
You can hear us. We are www.widowedaf.com. We're also on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere that you get your podcasts from. You can find us just by searching for Widowed AF.
Brilliant. It's great to meet the pair of you.
Thank you
both for being with us today at BBC Radio Kent.